Hey, what's up, OV Tribe? Today we're going to be talking about how 80% of new backpackers and other people do something drastically wrong that makes them sleep cold in the outdoors every time. Even if you've got something like this is our negative 15 degree bag. You can sleep in 30 degrees in this negative 15 degree bag and still freeze your butt off if you do this one thing wrong. So make sure to tune in and follow along and figure out if you're doing this wrong. Hopefully you're not. There's a lot of people that do this wrong. If you're new to this channel, I'm Tayson, I'm the founder here at RValue, and we are a channel all about giving you tips and tricks and things that are gonna make you get out on the trail and be more confident and comfortable, ideally. So if you like that, make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit the like button and the notification button so that you can know when we push out new videos. You know, when I was a kid, I only wanted bags that were 0 degrees or negative 15 degrees. That was like a threshold for me because I slept cold constantly. It's a huge problem for me, and I thought, I need a warmer sleeping bag. I need a warmer sleeping bag. And while that was true, because I definitely have my temperature ratings off. In fact, if you also don't maybe understand temperature ratings, make sure to go back. We'll throw a link up here talking about what temperature ratings really mean. For me, I didn't understand temperature ratings, but I also didn't understand this major factor. And so I always thought I needed a negative 15 degree bag, even in situations that now I'm using 30 degree bags in, right? That's 45 degrees difference, and I'm sleeping warmer now. All right, so back to that original question. How can this massive negative 15 degree sleeping bag be cold at 30 degrees Fahrenheit? This is something I picked up on really early in the business when I was still doing customer service inquiries. People would email in and they'd say, hey, I'm sleeping cold in your 0 degree bag. Why am I sleeping cold? And I would ask this single question, and 80% of the time that fixed the problem. I would say, what was the sleeping pad you were sleeping on? If you're getting cold in a sleeping bag, just try to mentally, and I know it's hard because in the middle of the night, you're like, it's the last thing I'm really focused on, but try to mentally think when you wake up and you're cold, is it my backside that's touching my pad that is getting cold? Or is it up here on the top of me? Typically what I find most of the time, and what other people experience too, is that it's underneath you that is getting cold. But what happens a lot of times is I wake up and I roll really quickly and then I'm like, man, this hip is cold, but now it's on the upside and I'm not realizing that it's my pad that's getting me cold. It's this whole debacle, right? By the way, if you're seeing this video when it says launched, this bag is actually on sale. This is our negative 15 degree limited edition product, but all of our summits are on sale for 2 days during our 12 days of Christmas campaign. So go check that out if you are interested in upgrading your sleeping bag game. How can this negative 15 degree bag be cold on anything, right? I mean, look at the loft. This thing's gonna keep you warm. Let me just kind of demonstrate this very easily. When this bag is compressed like it is right here, hopefully you can see that, there's no thermal value to this, right? I mean, it's compressed. Thermal value in down is from all the little air pockets that it traps in there. That's where the insulating factor comes in. When you're laying on this, especially that part that's underneath you, when that's all compressed, the thermal value you get from a sleeping bag is little to none. That's why TopQuilts are so popular, right? You're basically taking the stuff that's already compressed and not doing you any good, and you're carrying around for no reason, and you are getting rid of it. So in a bag, when you lay on this, you're compressing it. It's really not providing much thermal value, and that's why no matter how big this bag, I mean, look at this thing. I could fold this over 3 times and be like, oh yeah. But when you lay on it, it's gonna compress, and you're gonna lose a lot of warmth. Pretty much all of your warmth will be lost when you lay on this bag. So that's why the insulated pad or having that RValue underneath you is so important. Case in point here is it's probably your pad that is cold, and that's exactly what I was talking about with this pad. So let's talk about pads for a second and RValues, right? This thing has no insulation. This is an air mattress. That's all this thing was. That's gonna give you like a 0 RValue. It has no thermal value. Now, if we were to look at some other things, this is a very, very thin closed cell foam pad. This gives you an RValue of 1. That's kind of an estimated number, I believe. You could also look at something like this. This is a Nemo switchback. This gives you an RValue of 2. You can switch to something like this that actually has insulation in the baffles. That gives you an RValue of 4. And so you can see these different disparities. So what does that all mean to you? Well, typically you're gonna want in those summer months, which I guess I should probably throw some temperature ratings on this. I wasn't planning to. If I'm sleeping at 50 degrees and above, I can use a 1 RValue pad. I will never sleep on this. I'm just trying to give you, this is only for supplemental use. I would probably say a 1 RValue pad is good, up to a 2 RValue pad. Now, if I'm going colder than that, if I'm getting into, let's say 45 to 30, I'm gonna want something closer to that 3 RValue range. If I'm getting into the 20s or into the teens, I'm definitely gonna want something like this that's a 4 RValue range. And then you get any colder than that, and you've got to get into something even better, such as the noisiest pad in the world, but probably the warmest pad in the world. This is the ThermARest X Therm. This pad comes in at like 6.9 RValue. Nothing touches this thing on the market. It's a phenomenal pad if you're like a huge winter backpacker. If you're not, it's probably not the right thing. It's just a great pad if you're doing a lot of winter backpacking. But 6 RValue. So if you're getting down into like the single digits, zeros, sub-zero, you're gonna need something like 5 RValue, or 6 RValue, but you can kind of see the scale here. So you're probably asking, well, what should I get personally? Personally, what I'd tell you to get is to get something around a 4 RValue or a 3-season pad. That's gonna give you the most use. Think of it this way. People are like, well, I don't want this warm pad when I'm sleeping in the summer. It's like 65 degrees out here right now. I'm down in Florida and that would be miserable. Well, I mean, you sleep at 65 degrees in your own home and you're on a mattress, and that mattress has a considerable RValue. So there's really no difference between sleeping on an insulated pad in warmer temperatures than sleeping on your mattress in your house in warmer temperatures. So my personal opinion is get an insulated pad because it's gonna give you the most broad use. Get something that is going to be, say, that 3-season pad and then stretch it. If you've got this pad, why do I have all these pads? I'll tell you what, I'm never gonna sleep on just this sucker right here. I'm never gonna sleep on this guy right here. They're way too thin. So why do I own these and what am I doing with these? Well, what I typically am gonna be doing with these is layering. I'm gonna take something like this and I'm gonna layer it with this other pad. Typically, I put it underneath. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm gonna put this pad underneath this pad to stretch this thing's RValue. In about a week, I'm gonna be going out on a backpacking trip and it's gonna be cold, probably single-digit type cold. And so I need to figure out a way to take our pad and stretch its RValue rating, and this is what I typically do. I'm gonna layer a pad like that. It's very common to layer something like this underneath it, right? So you pull this apart. You've seen these, you know, ThermARest has theirs, and this one's Nemo's. There's a bunch of them out there. But I'm gonna layer this underneath my pad. If it's really cold, sometimes I'll put this on the top of my pad just to keep that insulation closer to my body. You can stretch a 3-season pad, and that's why my recommendation is to get a 3-season pad. So for those of you that don't know, this is our pad. This is a 3-inch thick pad. We've also got a long, wide pad, which is gonna be even a little bit thicker. These pads have been awesome. I apologize, we've been in and out of stock on these all year long. We've had a crazy amount of demand for them. So if you're interested, I know that we have stock on them right now, so you can still pick one of these up and get it by Christmas. All right, one last other variation of adding thermal value to your pad is these. These are like the little emergency blankets. I think I ripped this off for weight savings or something. I've played around with these. In fact, that's exactly what this is. Durability on them is not great, and getting them back in the package is nearly impossible. They're a little noisy, but they're the cheapest, probably lightest way to add thermal value to your pad. I don't really want to pull this out to show you because it's such a mess. I'll pull it out. It's extremely quiet for anyone sleeping within 100 yards of your tent. Anyways, I'll take something like this, and I am yelling. You can put this on top of your pad to reflect that heat back to you. That's where you're gonna get the most value. If you put this underneath your pad, the amount of reflection it's gonna get back to you is gonna be very little. If you are using something like this, I would recommend putting it on the top of your pad. But be aware, you are going to get a little bit of noise through the night, but it's the cheapest, easy. I mean, these things cost like $2 maybe. It's a really easy way to stretch out the thermal value of whatever pad you currently own. So hopefully this is very educational for you. Hopefully also most of you already understood this stuff, but if you didn't know this stuff, this is critical. So I'm glad that we did this video, and I'm glad that you got to watch it. Some of you have been probably eyeing this hoodie that I've been wearing. Yes, this is the Dragonwool hoodie. We are actively shipping them to everyone who has bought them on pre-sale. Stay tuned because we're putting them on the website very, very soon. Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you have any more questions about RValues, pads, sleeping bags, anything like that, leave them in the comments down below and we will get back to you. Make sure you're subscribed, click the bell notification, and we will see you on the next one.